Tonight on This Week in NASCAR.
43 drivers ready to get down to business. David Stremme slides.
And Jimmy Johnson just out for a Sunday drive.
But wait, there's more.
I have a vibration. Evil loose, saving all you can.
And we warned you, every drop counts.
What an eventful final lap. Mark Martin is going to win.
Next, wine and cheese a la shootout style.
There's a lot of lurking disasters throughout that track.
The twin tanks are full, ready to burn through the highlights, lowlights, and insights next. This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Geico.
Geico.
And I hope you're having a great Monday evening, everybody. Steve Burns in the studio here in Charlotte, North Carolina with Michael Waltrip and Chad Knaus. Glad you boys are here. A lot more from the experts in just a minute. We're going to go right to the headline because Mark Martin conserves enough fuel to pick up his 38th career win. He started 32nd. That's the deepest any driver has ever started at Michigan and gone to victory lane. The 5th time that Mark has been to victory lane at the Michigan International Speedway. So, obviously, you guys are a big part of the equation. You run out of gas. Greg Biffle runs out of gas. Talk about the final laps, if you would, Chad.
Well, I mean, obviously, it wasn't just the final laps. It was everything that led up to that point. You know, we had a good race car. We really did. And unfortunately, we got beat off pit road on that last pit stop, which hurt us a little bit. It kept us from being able to control the tempo of the race. And we knew that we were going to be running out of fuel if we kept that pace up that we were going. But I really thought once we got ahead of the 16, we knew that we were going to be able to go further than they were on fuel. Really thought once we got ahead of them that they would have backed off their pace a little bit just so they could have finished the race. And I was actually surprised that they didn't. But at that point, I looked over at my engineer and I said, well, we're either going to make it or the 5 car is going to win because I know the 16 is not going to make it. So, and that's kind of what happened.
Michael, for Michael Waltrip Racing, David Rudiman finishes 19th. Marcus Ambrose and you both side by side, 30th and 31st.
It was a humbling day. We need that type of stuff. We're a young organization. We're new. We're growing. We're learning. We're getting better. 4th and 6th at Pocono, we might have overachieved, and certainly 19th, 30th, and 31st at Michigan, we underachieved. Loose. All 3 cars from lap 2 on were just sideways. And you know what? It was refreshing to see Jimmy Johnson and Greg Biffle catch me and lap me because they were going straight. They would go through the corners and their cars would stick. And I was racing around Sam Hornish and Marcus Ambrose, and guys, we were burning our right rear tires off. And I thought, this is really hard. And this is challenging. I can't keep this. I'm going to wreck if I keep this up. And here comes Jimmy. And then right on through the turn. Perfect. And then here comes Greg chasing him the same way. I thought, well, darn, if my car would stick like that, I might could keep up with those boys.
Before we hear from Greg Biffle, can I ask you why that was refreshing to you?
Because it was good to see someone handling well. I knew it was, listen to this, I knew it was possible. From where I was sitting and the people I was seeing, it looked like, you know, everybody's just going to wreck pretty soon. And then here comes Jimmy, right in there and just mad at it. And, you know, and Jimmy's a great driver, but he had a great car on Sunday, and you know, Chad alluded to that. And Greg had a great car too. And they're the only 2 leaders I ever saw. They were so far ahead of everyone, by the time I would get lapped, then the caution would fall. And it was just those 2. So.
Well, let's hear what our other panelist, Greg Biffle, had to say about his last laps of misfortune.
I wanted to get a win up here in the Motor City for Ford. You know, they've been so good to us, and they've done such a great job. I'm so excited about driving a Ford Fusion. The engines ran great today. We had great fuel mileage. Certainly would have made it with the program we were running, but the 48 came up there and just run us down and wanted to go. So I had to pick the pace up and run with him. And then I decided, you know, I'm not going to make it if I run this hard. I backed it down. I saw he was really loose, so I said, I got to go get him, you know. So I tried to run him back down, and we just ran out on the back stretch. So I wish I would have stuck with my program and just stayed in front of the 5, and I would have won the race.
I'm confused.
If he'd have backed it down a little bit, we both could have made it.
And he still wouldn't have won.
And he still wouldn't have won.
And he wouldn't take that. He wanted to beat your car,
Yeah,
and that's what it was
really
all
bad.
about. That was Ford versus Chevy. As a kid growing up, it was always Ford versus Chevy, and darn, it was fun in Michigan to see Ford versus Chevy and a couple of guys that just had to say, I'm going to beat you, and the other dudes, no, you're not. I'm going to beat you. I love racing, but that's dramatic. It's drama trying to see what's going to happen. I know it was from where you were sitting.
Absolutely, and everybody's complained over the course of the last few years about points racing and holding back and going for the position. Yes, both of us could have held back and both have finished in the top 5, no problem, if that's what we wanted to do. But where we were sitting in the points, there's absolutely no reason for that to happen. I mean, we're 3rd in the points. We didn't lose a position. We lost some points total, but not enough that it's really going to hurt us. And if we don't make the chase by 35 points, then maybe we'll come back and we'll look at Michigan and say, you know what, maybe we shouldn't have tried to push it for that event. But I think both teams did exactly what they needed to do to try to win the race. That's what it's about.
Speaking of points, let's take a look at the top 12 in points through 15 races. The top 3, as you see, they remain the same. Mark Martin picks up a bunch of spots. He moves up 5. David Rudiman just outside the top 12, Michael, by 3 points.
Didn't we talk about this last week?
We did.
You go from 6th or 7th to 13th. That's what happened to Mark. He was 13th all the way up to 8th. David was 11th. He's back to 13th, but he's only 3 points out. Every year, pretty much when you leave the 10th or 12th race, leave Charlotte or so, the top 12 has been decided. Only one guy comes in or out. This year, every week, someone's in the chase, someone's out of the chase. That's exciting. That's fun.
And the 5 did perfect points racing. They played that perfectly because that's exactly what they did. They're like, you know what, we're not in the top 12. We're going to make sure we get a top 5. And then they came out with the victory.
Hey, by the way, before we move on, I know
You should have done that.
that's what Biff said too.
Well, the thing is, see, here's the deal.
Isn't it weird how smart you are on Monday?
If we'd have backed off,
Then he'd have
he
backed off.
and we'd ended up 2nd again. So it didn't really matter. Either way, we were going to win.
You would have rather finished 22nd than not won, I think.
Yesterday, yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
But now in the chase, it's a different situation.
You know what that makes me want to do? It makes me want to go. Yes. Yes.
He's all in. We like that.
I love it.
Before we move on, all of us here at This Week in NASCAR and at Speed want to wish Johnny Benson well. Johnny was in a supermod wreck Saturday night in Berlin, Michigan, and we understand he's still in the hospital but is recovering, so we want to wish Johnny the best.
Yeah, I texted him. I said, "Are you okay, dude?" Because I read reports of it, and he said, "Meanie, I'll improv, or what's it when you call it? You change a word."
Paraphrase.
Paraphrase. I'll paraphrase. Meanie got loose under me, crashed me, and I caught on fire. But I'm tough. I'm gonna be fine. And Johnny's had a rough couple weeks. His team closed down. He doesn't have a ride. He wrecks his super modified that he built himself. And so obviously all of us here at Speed and on this show particularly, he's a big part of this show. He made this show get up and running. Want to wish him well and tell him that we love you, Johnny, and glad that you're tough.
All right, so right after this, some great late race scanner audio about fuel mileage at MIS. You'll hear it all in Radioactive, plus highlights coming up. The 12 and the 26 had a Joey Logano sandwich, and later we'll get you ready for the twists and turns of the Infineon Raceway, the first road course of the 2009 season. We'll be right back.
This Week in NASCAR is presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And brought to you by C-Max, performance you can feel. And by Bank of America. If you're a NASCAR fan, get NASCAR banking only from Bank of America.
This Week in NASCAR on Speed. It might be sponsored by Geico, but you should watch it anyways.
Love that guy.
I thought Michael was going to be more excited because we had one last week, and I think he was kind of stunned.
No, I was torn up because I want to be that guy. Chad, listen to this. I want to do the show completely in my caveman outfit, do the whole thing, not realizing that right here in front of me, it says Geico. And then at the end, I'd be like,
You'd be disgusted and walk off.
And now they've got some other guy who isn't near the caveman I would be. He's not half the caveman I could be.
You'd be a hell of a caveman.
You got that right.
There are some that would say you are the caveman.
I don't understand what you're saying, Steve.
I don't know you anymore. With all that, let's go right to the radioactive feature.
Radio check 1 2. 10-4, got you. Check 1 2. I got you there. You got me okay? Got a copy. 10-4.
There have probably been more races won and lost at this racetrack by misfiguring your fuel here at Michigan.
We'll get a fuel mileage run this first set. Hopefully work our way to the front. Long day here, guys. Long day. Let's just be solid, do what we do, and we'll be in good shape.
Green flag is in the air. Already 3 wide for the lead in turn 1.
Jimmy Johnson charges to the outside lane. He's got the lead. Good job, bud. Really good. Keep digging on that thing. Get us a big cushion as you can.
7 seconds. That's how far out front Jimmy Johnson is.
The 16's going to be second place. He's definitely the second fastest car on track. Keep an eye on that number 5 car. He's got one of the best race cars out there right now. It's pretty good, pretty fast. Well, trouble spinning. One car is up and into the wall.
David Stremme slams into those barriers filled with water.
This is really going to tighten the old fuel window here at Michigan.
Mark, let's stop and get fuel and tires. We got to save because we're about 3 short. 4,600 seconds and saving fuel from the time we drop you.
Pit road is now open, and here come the leaders.
There's 4 tires here, 4 tires. 4 tires. Grab me both sides. Hit the sign. Clean in, clean out. Full, Richard. Be ready. Go. No, nothing coming. 40, 50, nothing coming.
Greg Biffle, who takes over the lead at this point.
Nice, guys. Nice work. How bad are we off on Jazz? About 2 right now. I know we can say that much if we get out there.
Green goes in the air. We'll have some 44 laps remaining.
Only mash it to the floor, getting off the corner. And I come back to about 2/3 throttle. Good for it. We'll be good. Left short, are we? 2 laps of gas from the beginning of the run. 2 laps. Here's Jimmy Johnson now, and he has trimmed the deficit. Oh, man, go get him, dude. I'm trying. I'm sideways. Calm down. Fine. Everything's fine. Run it like you need to, buddy. Run it like you need to here. Let's go. Hey, man, but he's catching me. New leader, Jimmy Johnson. Man, I believe our car's fast enough to race with him. We just really need to finish this thing. 4 more, just stay for me, bud. They may not make it. They've been running hard. Nice and easy. Save some gas there, bud. He's not letting out much, man. I can't let off. But he now, nice flag right here. He's out. Shuffle around the outside lane. Can he make it home? Save a little bit. 20 car lengths back to Mark. Oh. Keep trying. Biffle's out of gas. Martin takes the lead in turn number 3. We got her, baby. Yeah.
What an eventful final lap. Mark Martin is going to win.
Woo! I can't believe we won. Man, it's a good thing we were just conservative today. That's what being sport gets you right there, buddy. Gotta be smart. You're the best at it, the smartest out there. You're awesome.
That is as much fun as you want to have. You know, if you're sitting in the grandstands and you're trying to figure all this out, it's going to be hard to do because you can see how close people are competing, but you don't know the drama until you get a set of those scanners and those headsets and you listen to Chad telling Jimmy how close it's going to be. And then you just realize that the timing of the caution flag, why does it happen like that? We change,
every time.
Listen though, we change the size of our fuel cells and it's still used to, we had 22 gallons, we go 100 miles, it would happen right with 50 to go. Now we change the size of our fuel cell, they move it forward to 40-some. That's crazy, and that's fun, though.
Michael's yelling.
Yes, am I really?
No, but it's okay. You're enthusiastic. Here's what I want to ask both you guys. Michael, I heard at some point during the race, one of the crew chiefs say, you got to save me, I think, 2 laps. How do you do that? As a driver and then as a crew chief, how do you do that?
Well, if you're not in this situation Jimmy and Greg were in, it's easy to do. You know, you mat the gas coming off the corner slowly, but you mat it, and you run 3/4 of the way down the straightaway wide open. But when you hear that thing start singing up around 99,000, you know, you just roll off and you don't let it do that. That saves some fuel. And then if you really have a cushion, you do what Tony Stewart did at Pocono, and we all do at times. You just hit the kill switch and you coast through the corner and you back your pace down that much. But in the situation for Sunday, and that's what was so fun for me as a fan to see these guys having to judge or try to value what their goals were, what was most important. Martin, you heard him say, we just really need to finish. And then you heard Chad, who was doing all the thinking for Jimmy, we want to win. We're here to win.
Chad, it's just so contrary to what racers do is slow down.
It's difficult, and it's difficult as a competitor to do that, but you can save a lot of fuel. And there's some racetracks that we'll go to that you can actually back off, try to conserve fuel, and go faster. Because what that does, it allows the car to enter the corner a little bit freer, settle down in the corner, and the driver's nice and smooth getting back on the throttle.
What a great lesson that is for the driver, too.
Yeah.
Your crew says slow down, and you run a tenth faster. They're like, well, you're not that bright, are you? That's interesting, but it's true. It happens.
It's really effective at a short track. If you go to Loudon, Richmond, Martinsville, places like that, if you're trying to make that happen, because it just makes a driver calm down and smoother into the corner and is not aggressive on the brakes. Place like Michigan, it does slow you down a little bit more than some of the other places, but again, we weren't slowing down, we were going for it.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights. Lap 8, Jimmy Johnson in that 48 is going to pass Kyle Busch for the lead. You guys showed muscle early.
It was fast right about here. I mean, the car was really good. The
Malachi, wide there.
It's the Malachi Crunch.
It is the Malachi Crunch. Jamie McMurray, David Stremme, Joey Logano in the middle. Then you guys opened up a huge lead, 8 seconds.
It worked out really well for us, especially once we started lapping cars. We were really able to maneuver traffic well and get and extend that lead a little bit more for us. And then when pit cycles started, it gave us a cushion to where we were able to wait till just about everybody on the lead lap pitted before we needed to pit. And that gave us a little bit more cushion in case something weird happened again. So we really ran a pretty conservative race, and it was shooting out really well there for a while.
She was fast. All right, let's move ahead to lap 72. Caution comes out for debris. Tony Stewart, running 5th, has a little bit of a slow stop. They had trouble on the right front. That drops him back to 10th. 48 car wins the race off of pit road.
I was really happy with our performance on pit road. We had a 13.27 second average for the day. And the last pit stop, like we said, we lost some positions there, but it was still a 13.5 on pit road. Just awesome pit stops for our guys all day long.
I want to echo that for the Napa crew. We have a meeting every Monday after the races. We had 4 stops that were normal. We didn't pull rubbers or we didn't adjust shocks. And they went 13.0, 13.0, 13.0, and 13.2. And I knew it. I didn't know what the times were, but I'd come in the pits with some dudes and I'd go back out and they'd be way behind me. And just to tell you how tough this thing is and how competitive it is, we finished 30th. There's no hiding from that. But our crew was as good as there was on pit road. You have to have every part and every piece. You can't, like John Andretti, for example, he started 10th, and he had a pretty fast car. And when he would pit, they didn't have good pit stops, and he just lost ground after ground after ground, and it adds up. It adds up, and you can't make up for it.
Mm-hmm. That's why we call it a team sport.
It is.
It might be the biggest team sport ever, in my opinion, because every man on the whole team matters.
Well, coming up, David Stremme makes the highlights. Again, he can't avoid the water barrels. Plus, in just a bit, a late race pass nets another first-time winner in the Truck Series. And later, we'll take a look at some of the most exhilarating wrecks at Sonoma. This Week in NASCAR will be right back. We're going to the Infineon Raceway in Sonoma, California. Make sure you catch NASCAR Race Day built by the Home Depot. That coverage starts at 1:30 Eastern here on Speed on Sunday. Let's get back into some more of the highlights from yesterday's LifeLock 400 from the Michigan International Speedway. Lap 150.
Ooh.
Everybody, saw a moment ago, David Stremme loose off of turn 4.
Everybody has come so close to doing that at any point during the race, and it just got away from David. And unfortunately, a lot of times when you spin at Michigan, you slide through the grass, but he just was off a couple feet.
Chad, I've said for years that track is deceptive. It's 2 miles, it's big, wide, there's a lot of room to race, but it's slick too.
Oh, there's not a lot of grip on that racetrack, and it's actually getting worse. Jimmy made mention of it the first lap on the racetrack for qualifying practice. He's like, man, this place is really getting rough, and it's starting to get pretty slick out here. And one thing that happened about midway through the race is we had some clouds just kind of looming above, and then, the track had a lot of grip early on. As soon as those clouds went away, man, you could just see the cars in the middle of 3 and 4 just completely sideways. Turns 3 and 4, you carry lateral a lot further than what you do in 1 and 2, and I think these guys would just go and they would get in the throttle and it would just slide all the way off the corner. Allmendinger he had some remarkable saves all day long coming off turn 4. We had a great seat for all of that. It was pretty exciting.
And then he had one not so remarkable save.
Did he crash?
Crashed.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
David Reagan also pointed to the infield at one point off of.
I think you could pretty much pick someone and say they were.
Yeah. All right. Everyone comes in for what's expected to be final set of pit stops. And this is the Geico greatest pit crew. It goes to the 16 team. They get Greg Biffle out first. Biffle then tries to go into fuel mileage mode, shutting off the car under caution. But Chad, as we saw, he almost couldn't help himself. He had to race.
It's in his blood. It's the way it is. You know, like I said, he could have easily backed off his pace and finished second to us, no problem. That's not what he wanted to do. He wanted to try to win the race. And I really, really thought that once we got past him that they would have backed off their pace and tried to conserve just so they could have finished second. And I was shocked that they didn't. And unfortunately, we both ran out of gas. So thanks, Biffle.
Solid run for Ham Air. He was up in there all jiggy with it, wasn't he?
You still looking for rides?
I'm trying to get home from California,
Denny. All right, would you like to own this very picture of Mark Martin from Victory Lane in Michigan? To enter the Picture of the Week giveaway, go to speedtv.com, click on the show's tab at the top, go to the This Week in NASCAR page. You'll see a link at the bottom of the page to email us. Put fuel in the subject line and you'll be entered to win. Be sure to put your shipping address in the email. The winner will be revealed next week. The Tony Stewart picture went to a fan in Illinois.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. When we come back, Mark Martin was light on the accelerator, and it enabled him to score the win. Plus, Kyle Busch finishes second twice in one day. Do you think he was happy about that? Stick around. We'll find out.
So great.
The Greatest Pit Crew has been presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Geico. Michael, 15 minutes?
I'm going to save you 15%. I just can't believe y'all are bringing this to me. Oh, wait, I'm not a caveman right now.
Well, actually, you are. Let's take a look at more highlights from yesterday's race.
The face he put on.
The Castro Edge smart move of the race goes to Mark Martin. Here the 5 is running second. Jimmy Johnson of the 48 gets by to take second spot, so Martin holds down third. Has enough fuel to make it to the end.
I think we need to put that on Alan's shoulders. I'm going to say congratulations to Alan Huffson for that, because he's the one that he choreographed that whole thing, and I think he did a fantastic job.
Look how low. Mark's running low. You know, you get a little bit better gas mileage if you run low. You cut the corners a little sharper. But as a driver, you're also kind of weird because you'll say, well, if I run a little faster, I can draft off him and I'll go faster, but I will use less fuel. And so you'll run, you know, you have to, your mind plays a lot of games with you. And that's when Alan, Chad, these guys, these crew chiefs can just say, look, this is what we have to do in order to make it, darn it, because the driver's on an island. He's out there on his own. He's doing his deal, and he's going to try to figure out ways to justify going faster.
And there's a lot of the circumstances going on right there. Like I talked about, the sun had come out, so the track had gotten really slick. The pace dropped off a whole lot. Like it was almost a half a second a lap average slower than what it was the previous run. So typically when that happens, your fuel consumption goes way, way down. You don't use as much fuel. But with Jimmy trying to chase down Biffle and the car being loose at that point, we're actually using more fuel. So it's a balance that you got to try to get figured out all the time. It's never cut and dry, and it's never easy.
Well, Chad, help us walk through this highlight. 13 laps to go. Your car, the 48, is catching Greg Biffle. Biffle trying to save fuel as well. And then a few laps later, they're side by side.
Yeah, we were faster than they were, and we were running up on them and catching them. And right here, this is the first time Jimmy got underneath him. About touch there. That was pretty close. And then I think the next lap is when we finally got by him, and it worked out pretty well for us. And the only thing that foiled me was I really thought he was going to slow down, and I thought that we were going to be fine, but. They didn't. They just kept on pushing and kept on pushing, and that's what they wanted to do. You know, they were in the same situation we were. They were trying to win the race, and that's the same thing we did.
Did you ever think about maybe just telling him to get there and ride?
No.
Until a couple to go, maybe, and try to see if he could push him to go faster and use the draft?
No, because I don't think that it would have worked out that way. The only way that we had to get ahead of him, and he had to concede the win. That was the only way it was going to work for us to save enough fuel. He had a 3.75 second lead on the 5 car. So as soon as we got by him, if they would have lifted to fall back to just stay ahead of the 5, we could have made it, but didn't work out.
Did you say conceive?
Concede.
Oh, concede. I got you.
All right, let's move ahead now to the sprint monster moment. It comes down to the final lap, coming to the white flag.
That's funny right there.
Oh, that's funny.
There you are right there. That's funny.
Unfortunately, the 48, Jimmy Johnson, runs out of gas.
And if we could have run out just a little bit sooner, we could have made it to pit road and got some fuel in it.
That was a bad spot.
And maybe finished a little better, but
I don't think so. I think you were destined for 22nd at that point. I think it had 22nd written all over. Did you say Mark ran out right there?
Yeah, Mark ran out just before the start-finish line.
Case Kane.
He ran out. He ran well.
Yes, he did.
You know, he ran well. Montoya ran well. See, now here we came down pit road. I told the guys, I said, look, let's get this thing fired up and get down past start-finish line so we
Look
can
at this happy
last
man.
car in the lead lap and instead of a lap down.
Isn't that fun?
What I like is the picture of the week. He's jumping up in the air, and he actually looks like he's got a little height to him. It doesn't look like he's like 5'2".
He's been a great teammate for you guys.
There he is. Look, he's tall. Typically, he can't see over the roof of the car. He's an awesome teammate. You know, I'm a huge Mark Martin fan. When I was a kid, my father and Mark used to race together in the ARCO series and ASA series up in the Midwest, and so I grew up around Mark and just loved watching him. He's such a talent, and to have him as part of our team now and run as competitive as what he is, it's fantastic.
You know, there's pictures that you think about as a race car driver who's been doing this forever. Mark Martin standing beside his ASA car when he was 13 or whatever he was, and Jeff Gordon on the right rear tire of his sprint car when he was 12 or 13. You know, there's just special people that do this, and God just blesses them with talent to do it. Mark, Jeff, I mean, Dale Earnhardt, obviously there's many, but certainly today you think of those two that from a very young age you knew they were going to be special.
Well, another rising young star, Colin Brown, picked up his first career win in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series this weekend at Michigan, 50th career win for Roush Fenway Racing.
Oh, on the box, up into the wall, James Buescher in the wall.
Brian Scott with him. This is a huge hit. You can see Buescher down on the inside of Johnny
Oh, he gets
Saunders.
completely sideways.
Gets loose and overcorrects, and wham, Brian Scott minding his own business and gets taken right into the wall.
Kyle Busch, wow! Close call. He went 3 wide to the bottom, all the way to the apron to pass the Norm Benning lap truck, and it cost him the lead. He lost his momentum, and the lead has changed hands. Here's Colin's view.
Colin's thinking, I don't know if there's room over there or not, Kyle. We've seen Kyle race on the apron before. He's okay with that.
That was the move of the race right there, all clear. New leader of the 6th.
His 35th career start. Finally, Colin Brown is going to victory lane.
Celebrating in victory lane for the first time in his young career.
Really fast truck. You know, it's so cool to win here. Being the third guy, I guess, or the third straight guy to win here for Roush Fenway. Getting their 50th win. You know, these guys did a heck of a job. Thanks to all the fans for being out here. And, man, I love this racetrack. That was awesome.
Tried to go low. There was a lane there. When we went into the corner, it closed up. My fault there, and screwed up. That was the pass for the lead. That was the win. You know, whoever got out front, it seemed to be was able to hold it. So very frustrating for us to finish second once again. But the Miccosukee Tundra was awesome. Thank Doug and the guys. Best it's ever been here at Michigan. And you know, now we'll take it and go on into Kentucky and finish second there.
Well, funny he should say that, but first I need to remind you that the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series in action from the Milwaukee Mile. Michael Waltrip, you will be there?
I am going to Milwaukee to be in the booth with Phil Parsons and Rick Allen and talk about some trucks on Friday night. I get all excited about that.
He came to the booth for practice in his uniform the other day. He was all.
I want to get there as soon as I can.
You're great. All right, the NASCAR Nationwide Series teams at the Kentucky Motor Speedway. Joey Logano won from the pole, his third career win, second of 2009.
Great side-by-side battle there. The whoa, the
here they go.
Hang on to it, hang on to it.
That was arrow loose right there. I know you hate it when I say that word, but that's what it was.
He's there.
Oh, look at that, man. He's got that clean air. He's got
Here he
that
goes.
nose.
He's inside.
Here Andy, you might be right. Joey Logano, listen to these fans.
Got to float it in here now.
I tell you, Busch lets him get up there. He's gone. Oh, man, I'll tell you, he's got that clean air right now.
Baby, get you some. 2 for 2. Get it. There you go, baby. One thing I like doing is doing stuff no one else has ever done before. You were the first repeat winner of Kentucky. Proud of you, man.
In another 20 years, we might be saying that's another kid who showed up when he was 17 or 18 years old and he knew he was going to be special. What a great job he did in passing Kyle Busch late in that race. It's very hard to complete a pass down on the bottom. He drove down into 3. He didn't overdrive the corner, was able to motor right by him. I'm really impressed by the way Joey drives that Nationwide car.
Chad, how closely do you watch young talent like Colin Brown and Joey Logano, guys like that?
I try to pay attention to him. I watched Colin Brown a couple years ago. He kind of caught my eye in one of those truck races. I thought he did a really good job. And we do that just to try to pay attention and see what's coming up. And it's going to be good stuff.
Do you think it's funny? The guy that won on Saturday morning was 20. The guy that won on Saturday night was 18. That's 38. The guy that won on Sunday was 51. So don't try to figure it out.
What were you doing with your hands right there, man?
I was all like
JoJo the Daisy.
I thought he was trying to get me to hurry up.
Yeah, I did too. I thought he was telling me to rap.
You add them both together and they're 38.
What's that got to do about 51?
They're less than him.
It's that caveman thing again.
When
we come back, racing at Infineon is like a roller coaster because of the elevation changes. The boys will fill us in on that. Plus, we had an exciting race at Sonoma last year. A look back at Kyle Busch's win. Stay with us. You're watching Twin.
The Monster Moment has been brought to you by Sprint. For more Sprint Cup Series, go to sprint.com/speed. The smart move of the race has been presented by Castrol Edge. Think with your dipstick. Upgrade to new Castrol Edge Advanced Synthetic. Nothing offers better wear and protection.
So this is a great part of the country to come and visit, the beautiful wine country.
I mean, this is a different animal. You have to concentrate so hard to get around this place. You have to hit your marks. You have to downshift and brake just right. And you got all these other cars around you.
We're getting set to go 110 laps in the Toyota St. Mark 350. The green flag is out.
Ricky Rudd won the very first race in Sonoma in 1989. We know Jeff Gordon loves the road course. He has 5 wins there. Let's hear from some of the other competitors.
Sonoma, it's a lot of elevation changes and a lot of up and downs, and just because it's so hot there, there's not a lot of grip on the racetrack, so everybody's sliding around.
You know, I like the Infineon road course because there's a lot more twists and turns. It's a little bit slower. You know, you've got to finesse a little bit more.
Infineon is, man, just staying on the track. There's a lot of lurking disasters throughout that track.
You kind of have to keep your eyes over the hills and make sure you don't go off the course. And, you know, the braking part of it and the fact that there's very few passing zones. There's 11 corners, I say, and 2 passing zones, so it's pretty tough.
You know, honestly, I think that Sonoma is the most difficult racetrack that we go to on the series. It's the most technical, it's got the most elevation changes, and it's the slickest racetrack of any that we've got. So I think to go there and win as many races there as Jeff Gordon has done, and be as competitive as Juan Pablo Montoya has been in his short time in these types of cars, I think it says a lot about guys like that. I think it's going to be neat to see how Scott Speed does this year there, you know, with his road course experience. And it's just a difficult racetrack. And it's the thing that you really have to realize is it's not always the best car that wins a race there. Fuel strategy really comes into play. You're only going to make 2 pit stops, and what you do is you figure your fuel windows backwards. You say, okay, my last pit stop's going to be at lap 64. Okay, now you're hoping there's going to be 5 or 6 caution laps from that point to the end of the race to make it all work out. Well, then from that point, you figure it up to the next fuel stop, and you want to stop as early as you possibly can for your fuel windows, because if you don't and you stay out there like what we did last year, we were leading, and right before the caution came out, or we were getting ready to pit, and the caution came out, and 10 cars had pitted before we actually got to pit road, and we had to restart 10th, and then we're back there fighting with everybody. So it's very difficult from a crew chief standpoint and a driver standpoint, but it's a lot of fun.
What about, for 25 years now I've been doing this, we've always had single file restarts on the road course.
Yeah.
We're going to double it up. So at least you would have been 5th in line if it had been that. But, you know, the track is a lot of fun, and the race is, and to me, the whole photo, the picture book of a year in Sprint Cup racing wouldn't be complete without the road courses. Hopping curves, going left and right. It's an important part of what we do. And plus, the people get into that event. There's a lot of folks that'll show up at Sears Point, and it's fun to watch.
I think we should have one in the chase.
You do?
Absolutely.
I don't think so. You know why I don't think so? I think it takes a couple of races during the course of the year to be successful, to get into the chase. They're part of that. Once you get into the chase, Jeff's yelling at me. And I don't know, why is that still there?
Michael said, you do?
Yeah, he did Michael had a real neat thing that he told me a couple years ago, maybe it was last year. You know, we had fallen back in traffic a little bit and just could not get back up there. And Jimmy's like, man, the car just tight in traffic. And you said one of the smartest things that you've ever said, which shocks me too, everybody. Wow. He said, it's not that the car was aero tight, you don't know where you're driving. You don't know where you're going into the corner because you get stacked up. And if somebody 5 cars ahead of you is offline a little bit, then the next 4 guys behind him are offline. offline and everybody's offline, and that just messes up the whole thing.
Yeah, I follow a lot of people. That's why I know that.
Funny. Now Jeff's really saying get to the next piece. Kyle Busch won last year's race. Let's take a look back.
You can start to see the first of the many vineyards that seemingly stretch endlessly for here. And today, these drivers will try to squeeze everything out of their cars, much like these vintners do to make their product today.
We're getting set to go. 110 laps in the Toyota Save Mart 350. The green flag is out.
Robbie Gordon has really been making the moves, Doug. He's trying to make all of the passes he can, going down into turn number 11. Clear by 2, Rob. Take care of your stuff. I'm going so slow, it's ridiculous.
You're still clear there, all clear. He's looking inside. He's coming inside there. He's got a nose right there.
Jimmy Johnson went to the inside of Casey Kane going down into turn 11. He set him up.
Backward forward. Good job. Go easy on the brakes. Easy on the brakes. Keep the tire round. Tumbles when I get on the gas. 10-4 on the carburation, dude. You're only a couple tenths off the leader. You're doing a good job.
Marcos Ambrose having a great run here today at Infineon Raceway.
Two, Lewis. It's full forward bod, full side bod. 10-4, buddy. I'll work on the power down right here, okay? The front's not getting any worse, just the back's giving up more. Car's tighter everywhere. I can't change directions no more. Easy here. Come on, just stay low to dig. Stay low and dig. Stay low and dig. Come on. 18's beside you. It's no problem getting up the hill, and then once we get up the hill and we get over to the S's, it's back slicking the S's for some reason.
It's a drag race. I haven't seen this before, but beautiful job by Gilliland. He takes the third spot.
I was impressed with that 38. He actually had more left than I thought he did. Yeah, Tim, well, I'm going to tell you what. He's fast. Doing good, bud. 3.5 second lead.
We've got a car spinning off course. That is the Marcos Ambrose machine.
21 finally got it. Yeah, he deserved it, probably. When he hit me, probably gave up. All right, well, yeah, we're done.
Harvick just took out 4 guys. Kyle Busch, a commanding lead, very smooth through turn number 2. Now he sets himself up, leading the way here at Infineon.
All right, white flag right here. Driving away there, bud.
Kyle Busch started 30th. He leads the most laps, and he will win the Toyota Save Mart 350.
You boys are number 1. Good job, guys. Everybody on this race team, way to rebound from bad start of the weekend.
Here's a look at what we have coming your way from Infineon on Friday. Also, an update on Thursday's programming. Busy Friday, all in, as Michael Waltrip likes to say. Well, up next, do you remember who was in this car when it did this at Infineon?
He landed in that pond.
Ooh. Wow. We'll profile some of the hardest wrecks at Infineon after this. This week in NASCAR. We'll be right back. We talk about road racing at Infineon Raceway. We jokingly say that black is good, brown is bad. What that really means is you want to stay on the racetrack. A little deceiving, there have been some very hard wrecks over the years on that racetrack.
Sears Point. Whoa! And Derek Cope has gone up over the tire barrier. John Krebs. Oh, John Krebs goes, wow. Oh, yeah. Out through there in front of Derek Cope. That's unbelievable. It really is. That was 2 wild rides. Steve car into the tires, up and over completely in the air. Boom! Back on his wheel. Like those guys at the X Games, the way they do those skates. Oh, another car up on the wall here. Ken Schrader. Just like the one car. He stays on the roof. Yeah. Looks like he's pulling him out feet first. Oh, man. All right. There he is. Wow.
Hung the right rear in the slick stuff. She started coming around, just held on. I knew it wasn't going to get pretty.
Boy, you say road courses aren't exciting and can't be a little bit dangerous. Kenny Schrader just showed you.
Oh, no! Hard lick. Kenny Schrader, Garland Marlin in the 14 car, and they're still stacking up.
One car, T-bone Schrader, extremely hard.
Oh, it was an incredible lick. Tom Hubert nailed Kenny Schrader.
Dale Jr. gets in the back of J.J. Yaley. Kyle Petty
just rams into the back of Joe Nemechek, and they just start stacking in after that.
And a big pile up here. There's trouble everywhere around this course.
I don't want everybody to think that you have to have accidents and crashes to make it exciting, but they are pretty exciting to watch, that's for sure. Did you see Schrader getting pulled out from that race car by the safety worker by his foot?
Can you imagine what Schrader was saying?
Actually, I probably can, but we can't say it on air.
Right. Michael, I want to ask you about the decision to put Patrick Carpentier in your car. He said last night on Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain that you were a NASCAR legend, which is nice, but why ultimately did you decide to get out of the car?
I just want to win, and you know, I've had the good fortune to be able to race Sears Point for however long we've been going there, and I have 6 or 7 top 10 finishes. I've always been in a top 5 finish, but I've had plenty of opportunities to win, and I've never been able to win. And I think Patrick is a world-class road racer. He could win in the Napa car, and the best chance for us to get a victory in Sonoma is for him to drive it. And I want him to drive it. I want to stand up and watch him hopefully try to wheel it to victory lane. That's my goal, and I'm not going to make the chase. We are in a position where we can get into the top 20 in points, and that's my goal. Focused on that with our car, and he can help us get there.
All right, appreciate the answer. When we return on This Week in NASCAR, are spotters used on a road course? We'll get that answer next. We'll be right back.
This Week in NASCAR, Speed Channel, Geico. Well, who wrote this? This is horrible stuff.
Time now for the Michael Waltrip is so mad. Time now for the Z-Max Fuel for Thoughts email segment.
Don't laugh at him.
I'm laughing at you being mad. Our first question comes from Jacksonville, Florida. M. Amster wants to know, how many spotters are used on road courses? If so, how many?
If his name was H. Hamster, it'd be Hamster. I think there's 2. Generally, you have your main spotter that oversees most of the track, and then I think some of the teams put guys down in the last turn there so they can get an eyeball on that. I know as a race car driver, I remember hearing a new guy come on my radio and say, got one inside, outside. So generally, 2 guys can cover the whole track. But yes, spotters are a very important part of that track, not only to help the driver, but also to help the crew chief. You know, he can't see what's going on everywhere. He might say, you got one off up in turn 6. That might make Chad say, Jimmy, pit. Let's try to get on pit road before the caution flies.
Our second question is also road course related. It comes from Hampton, Virginia, from R. Matthews. Chad, what's the main difference in the setup of a road course car versus an oval track car?
I can't tell you that there's a main difference, but there are a lot of differences. If you look at the front end geometry, the camber settings in the front of the car, obviously we turn right and left at a road course predominantly to the right. So you have to set your car up to handle to the right side. You know, typically in an oval, we're just turning to the left all the time, just going in circles like a bunch of monkeys. But when you get on a road course, you got to go right and left. So we adjust a lot of things to make the car more symmetrical so that it's even handling right and left.
A bunch of monkeys?
Basically.
Okay.
Kind of like we're like a band of gypsies, you know, going around the country.
Trying to catch a football.
Yeah, that's funny. Final reminder, if you want to win the picture of the week, Mark Martin at Victory Lane, go to speedtv.com, click the shows tab at the top, go to the This Week in NASCAR page. You'll see a link at the bottom to email us. Put fuel in the subject line and you'll be entered to win, and please add your shipping address in the email.
This Week in NASCAR is presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And brought to you in part by Mike's Hard Punch, mix up a whole new party. And by Cheerios, good for the heart.
Join us here next Monday night. Chad is back with us. The Biff is staying on the West Coast, which means I will keep his sunglasses for yet another week. He left them here, and I've been carrying them around.
I thought you looked stylish this past weekend.
He said he needed them, but he's got a backup pair. I mean, you guys looking for your first road course win on the 48 car. You've made improvement.
We have. Really excited about it. You know, we led a bunch of the race last year, and I think that going out to Sonoma this weekend could provide well for us. We're really pumped up about it. Tony Uri Jr. helped us out with the setup a little bit, and you know, I think our Lowe's Impala is going to be right up towards the front. We're really looking forward to it.
Michael, how hard will it be for you to watch the race?
Oh, I can't wait. I want to be up on that. So when David Rudeman won the 50th Coca-Cola 600, I never knew what it was going to feel like to get a win as an owner. It was a great feeling. MW55, that's me on Twitter. Check in there and I'll let you know how it's going.
Are you tweeting?
I am, and I'm not comfortable with it, but I am.
I think he is a tweet.
He is a tweet.